Okay, so again, we're going to go ahead and get started. We wanted to share just a couple of feature updates. It just seems like it's easier to do it by demonstrating what's going on. We have a lot of exciting stuff going on planned. So we wanted to make sure you guys knew how to do everything that we most recently released. So the agenda is we are going to, hold on, let me move my screen forward. We're going to go through and demonstrate the three newest things. And then if you guys need to jump off, that's fine, but we will stay and take questions. So if there is anything that had been released prior to this past week that you have questions about, we're happy to answer that. Everyone's been clamoring for this, is you now have the ability to embed multimedia blocks in tabs and accordion, as well as one other. I'll talk about that one in a minute. So I want to go ahead and just demonstrate how this is done, and then we can stop and see if there's any questions in the chat. So the first thing that you want to do, if you want to take advantage of this feature, is you want to either go to the page where you have your tabs or your accordion set up, or you need to set them up. So in this case, I'm going to demonstrate using the tabs block. I'm going to go ahead and click edit. And you can see here, I have 4 tabs set up. And I want to embed an image in each one of these tabs, okay? So the first thing I did is I set up my tabs, and then what you need to do is you need to actually build the blocks that you want to embed directly on the page. So again, I went in and I'm not going to do this from scratch because it would take too much time, but I went in and used the image block and I added the 4 images that I want to embed, okay? So I have the first image, second, third, and the 4th, all right? So then what I do is once I have my whole page set up, so I have my tab set up where I want it to go and all of the other blocks, I'm gonna click edit to go back into the block. I'm gonna put my cursor where I want the multimedia image, and there's a new button that's on the toolbar that says add block from page. You're gonna click that, and it's gonna prompt you to insert a block. You're going to be presented with a drop-down list, and this is going to show you all the blocks that you're able to embed on this page. Not everything is able to be embedded. So I'm going to go ahead and click, I know it's block 4 that I want here. I'm going to click OK, and I'm just going to get a little message that now that it is truly embedded, there's a placeholder. I'm going to click save. I'm just going to go ahead and save that and show you. So when I come back, again, I'm still in edit mode. I'm just going to have a little text cue here that says the image has been embedded, but nothing really looks different. I'm in edit mode. However, when I go to publish my edits, you can see now this image is embedded in the tabs block and it's no longer underneath. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and just demonstrate that one more time and we'll see if there's questions. So I'm going to go back into the tabs block. Remember, I just did the first one. And I'm going to quickly do the last 3 to show you a little bit faster how I do this. Hit save tab. Stacy, if you're able to, can you send everyone via text, via the chat tool, the knowledge base article, if you're able to pull that up? That'd be great. All right, so I just repeated that process for every single tab. I embedded it, and I'm gonna go ahead again. I'm gonna publish my edits. I'll go ahead and show you guys. So now there's nothing, I'm now in the published mode, how the students are gonna see it. None of the images are appearing below the tabs. They're all embedded in each tab. And I know I sent out a video, communicating the same thing, but I just wanted to remind you guys, we did this intentionally. We kind of struggled with the design and how we wanted to do this. And we really felt it was important that it'd be really easy to edit the blocks and also make sure that you have the full functionality, all the features and fields that are in the blocks. So that's why the blocks are separate. So what I mean by that is, you create the block just like you normally do. And then if for whatever reason you need to go back in and edit that image block, you don't have to do it in the tabs. You can do it just like you normally do. So this is going to work. I'm not going to remember all of them, but you can embed videos. So it works for generic video, YouTube, Vimeo, icon and text. I'm sure I'm forgetting some, but Stacy is going to post the article, which is in the knowledge base, and that lists everything that's available. So I'm just going to pause for 1 second before I show you guys how to do the same thing in a quiz and just see if there's any questions. Stacy, anything I need to stop for?
Not yet.
Okay, perfect. So again, you can do this, and I think the easiest way to describe it is just embedding a block within a block. You can do this in tabs and accordion. Again, I just demonstrated tabs. I'm not going to do accordion because it's the same functionality. But you can also do this using the quiz prompt question, which is inside the quiz block. So again, I went ahead and set up a page here to show you guys. This is a quiz. I'm going to go ahead into edit. So I have the quiz set up. Insert here, that's where I want this to go, just so you know. I did just what I did before. I have a chart that I want to use as a prompt for a question. So I went ahead and set up the chart using the interactive graph block. So I set that up separately. And then I'm just going to go back into the quiz. And I am going to go, I think it's this one, into the question prompt. I'd probably have some directions or something here. Can't type. And then again, same button that is available in the tab preview, or the tab navigation rather, it's right here. So it's showing me again all the blocks that I can pull in. I know it's the graph that I want. I'm going to hit OK. Again, I'm just going to get that visual cue that there's a placeholder for it. I'm going to save my question. I'm going to hit save. And again, when I come back in, I just see that there's a placeholder. I'm going to publish my edits. And now I have that block type that's embedded in the prompt. And I know this was a big one. So, you can, if you want to have a video passage that you want the students to look at, before they answer questions, or you want to have an image, that's a big one. Obviously, having data, the charts and graphs. So we tried to, kind of incorporate whatever we thought, would be most useful. So again, the first feature we wanted to talk about, the ability to embed multimedia blocks within a block. And there's 3 places you can do it: tabs, accordions, and the quiz prompt, which is a question type inside the quiz block.
And there is a question that came in that I think would be helpful for everyone. The question is, how do you identify which images, that the tabs are, if you lose track? So it labels them by number, and it goes in order of the images that are on the page.
Yes. So it, yeah, Stacy answered it, but yeah, you're right. You want to put them, the best advice that I would say is you want to put them in the order that you're going in. So for example, for the first tab, I have the first image that I want directly underneath it. So I would recommend that you move them. If you, for whatever reason, you don't have them in the proper order, I would put them in the order. It lists them in the order that they're available on the page. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and do the second thing. So the second thing, again, depending on your role, this is more technical, but we wanted to share with you. So I know you guys know, most of you know that there's themes. There's a theming setting that you create that's centrally created. So there's different themes. You might just have one theme for your organization. You might have a couple. And then when you create a course, you apply a theme, right? Well, there might be a couple of use cases where you want to tweak a theme just for one course, but not for everything else. And you don't want to change the theme. And so what you now have the ability to do, again, if you have permissions, is there's a place to put custom code either in the header or the footer at the course level. So a couple of examples. This is one. Let me just, hold on, I'm looking over here because I copied this code to show you guys. So the first example is, let's say you have a title and a heading that is super long, just, in a course, for whatever reason, you have a really long course title or one of the heading titles is really long. What this allows you to do is to customize the font size to make it smaller or larger just for this course. So that would be an example of just like a little teeny tiny tweak you want to do to this theme, but you only want to do it for this course, okay? Another example is, and this one actually is pretty relevant to today, we have a bunch of clients right now that are sharing content publicly. So they're supporting education, online education throughout their state, and they're not giving them access through LTI. They're just making the links public to make sure all the kids, as many kids can get educated as possible. And so there's no tracking with that. So they're using Google Analytics, and they want to add just like a little code here that is saying what course this is. All right, so they're just going to add a little bit of JavaScript, which is identifying the course. So then if they're looking at Google Analytics, they can say, oh, wow, okay, we had like 100 kids hit this course and we had 1,000 hit another course, review it, just to give them some feedback. So again, that's the type of thing, very granular, only applies to a course, and you can put it in here. For the most part, it really doesn't matter if you put it in the header or the footer area because it's not going to be visible to the student. It's code. It's just going to be on the back end. The only exception to that would be sometimes with Google Analytics or other analytics tools, it might say, you know, this needs to be in the header, it needs to be in the footer. So just check on that. But this is, again, this is a tool for, you know, your admin types, your system admins, or, you know, anyone else, IT, just make sure that they're aware of this. So this is custom content, custom code that's allowed at the course level. Okay, so I'm assuming we can go on. Last thing I wanted to show you guys. So there's now the ability when you add a page of content, you can, at the page level, determine how the equation is going to be rendered. So you can choose either MathJax or Wyrus. And so the way it works, if you're not using the equation editor or the equation tool, then this doesn't apply to you. But if you are building math or science content, you do have the ability at the, you know, the system level or the installation level, you have the ability to determine how equations are rendered, which tool you want to use. And so what this allows you to do, if needed, is override that default setting at the page level. And I'm going to go ahead and let Stacy talk about this. Stacy, should I stop sharing?
Yes, please.
Okay. Stacy's our math expert, so better for her to talk about this. And while she's talking, I'm going to take over. I'll look at the chat.
Sure. So this page is set up with MathJax right now. And a lot of our clients will use MathJax for a couple different reasons. One, if you're someone that likes to use LaTeX to enter in your content without using an equation editor, it's easier to do that with MathJax, and sometimes works. The MathJax accepts that coding a little better. If you use like ReadSpeaker or some other tools, usually those work better with MathJax to render the equations as well. So typically, if you start off with MathJax, sometimes you'll have an issue pop up, and I'm going to show you what that looks like. So I'm just going into a content block and pulling up the equation editor, and I'm just going to type in, just as an example here. And if I just have this long division example that students can work out maybe on their paper, and there's some other times that this error message will pop up. And that's also in the article, just a couple examples there. So it looks normal in my equation editor and in the content block, when I go to click add, it may look funny here, and it's always important to know with the equations that you want to publish your edits, because that's what pushes the render to happen. And right now it's set to render with MathJax, and I'm getting this unknown error. So sometimes when that happens, it's just the tags of the rendering engine. So I can go back now, and I'm going to go back into the module level. And I'm gonna edit the properties. And here's where I'm gonna override. So if my system was at MathJax or my module was at MathJax, on this page, I'd like to use Wirus. So I'm changing it to that, and I'm gonna click submit. It might take a little bit of time, a few seconds, or longer than a typical one, because it's re-rendering the content on your page. And now you can see that that is displaying properly. Another example, just one more. Just had a content block here already. Again, I'm going to go into the equation editor, and this time I'm going to use a summation symbol. And I'm just putting a very simple equation here, but I'm going to click OK. And again, it looks normal here in the equation editor. When I click OK, it looks normal here as well. And looks really funny before I render it. So I publish my edits. And in this case, it kind of looks a little odd. So the summation symbols here on the left and the numbers aren't quite matching up. It just doesn't look the way I'd like it to look. So if you're creating some math equations and it looks a little odd, you can go in again and change your rendering into Wirus. And the neat thing is, though, this only applies to certain cases. So a lot of the times that everything looks great with the MathJax, but just once in a while. Or if you're using Wirus for the most part, and then something looks funny, you could switch to MathJax. So notice how it changes the appearance to make it look better there. So those are just some examples of going back and forth between the two.